VTuber lore. Those vagaries that curse my nightmares and drive me to many mad conspiratorial rants. Now, some may claim that there's no real purpose to VTuber lore, that it's all just a formality to create a mental barrier between the viewer, the character, and the streamer. Those people are probably right. But I've wasted too much time and effort on listening to and decoding this stuff for me to just give up now. Thus, my sunk cost fallacy continues. I remember the first time I seriously thought about VTuber lore was when my friends first sent me the teaser for the Hollow Council debut. I sat there, eyes glued to the screen, faintly proclaiming, "What the hell does any of this mean?" The confusion we all felt was palpable. We'd all been there for Hololive EN from day one, and the prospect of a second wave was very exciting. We expected lots of different things, but we never expected a new history textbook, theoretical physics theory, religious doctrine? I'm gonna be honest, rewatching it now still leaves me very confused. But time has passed, I've since earned my PhD in VTuber lore conspiracy, and Dr. Sekai is here to help you understand just what's going on in the world of Hololive EN. Or at least whatever I've made up about what's going on in the world of Hololive EN. Now, as always, the rules are simple. The focus of this video and the theories therein are going to be on the debuts of each member as well as any clear lore videos and songs. I am but one man with my own responsibilities in life, so I don't have hundreds upon hundreds of hours to pour over every single stream to pick out every little crumb of lore hinted at or casually mentioned over the past 2 years. Thus, we treat the debuts as the most canon and verifiable pieces of lore that we can get, and I'll leave it to you all to help me fill in the gaps down below with things that I likely have missed in all the other streams. Well, now comes the part where I have no other ways to pad out this intro, so let's get started. Say hello to Hololive English Myth, aka Holomyth, the debut for which was, well, quite honestly a huge moment in the world of VTubers. There were already English-speaking VTubers, obviously, but Holomyth marked the first foray of one of the big names into the English-speaking audience. And debuting right as the VTuber craze was starting to pick up, the 5 members burst onto the scene with an explosive presence. Starting off with the rapping reaper who has reaped the hearts of many, we have Calliope Mori. She's the first apprentice of death and resides in the underworld, which apparently has shit internet. However, she's on hiatus from being a reaper due to a lack of deaths. Mori decided to become a VTuber to collect souls, since medical technology has been keeping people alive longer, and apparently, souls, quote, vaporized by the wholesome relationships of VTubers flow directly to her? She's also existed since things have been alive, which is actually a moment we'll be able to possibly pinpoint later. Some other unrelated things that I felt like pointing out, Calliope may not have a heart. Additionally, the architecture of hell matches the current timeline, and anything that dies goes to the underworld, not just living beings. Which means Ska's probably down there, and if that's true, I'm on my way, Mori. I will see you soon. Who am I kidding? Ska will never die. It shall only be reborn, stronger and more powerful each time it fades to ashes. Just like our next VTuber, Kiara Takanashi. Kiara's debut begins with a storybook version of her origins. Before humans roamed the earth and while mythical creatures existed in plenty, there was a young phoenix named Kiara. Over the next several thousand years, she did lots of things and had lots of adventures, even becoming an idol at some point. Though every few hundred years she did what phoenixes do best and died before being reborn from her own ashes. But because nothing can be simple in the realm of VTuber lore, apparently every time she was reborn, she would find herself in another dimension. And here I was thinking that this would be one of the easier stories. After a while, Kiara started to notice that there were significantly fewer phoenixes across all the dimensions. Thus, she decided to become a human in her next life and aim for world domination. Because no VTuber group is complete unless one of them has plans for world domination. And so, today is the day that she rises again and sets out on her new quest. Or rather, September 12th, 2020 was the day. Now this immediately just messes with everything. Period. The existence of other dimensions instantly raises the question of how similar each one is. For example, is it only our world where mythical creatures don't exist? Or was that also our universe and they've just been forgotten? In how many universes did Huke-sama make Black Rock Shooter to the degree that Kiara knew it was the same creator in our world if she had just gotten here? If Callie knows and continues to reject Kiara, does that mean that the underworld is exempt from the multiverse? Are Phoenix deaths QPU aligned? It's a joke for all the Watch for Rolling Rocks fans out there. 0.5 VTuber. Lord Christ. These questions probably make no sense, but that's the risk you take when you add multi-dimensional death warping into the mix. And trust me, things are only gonna get more confusing from here. As for other tidbits, Kiara's goal is to open the perfect fast food restaurant, and honestly, I wasn't expecting that to be the way that she was gonna take over the world, but I won't complain if the food's good. Also, one of Kiara's dislikes is one-sided feelings, and that just kinda makes me sad. I feel you, Kiara. I feel you. But hey, at least she's got some sick weapons and a Kamen Rider belt. You know, they say looking at an eldritch being causes one's mind to shatter due to the incomprehensible nature of what one would see. Thankfully, my mind shattered long ago, so we can move right on along to Ninomiya Inanis. According to her little biography section, Ina picked up a strange book and gained the power of controlling tentacles. Becoming a priestess of the Ancient Ones, she begins hearing ancient whispers, but due to seemingly maintaining her sanity, she now works as a VTuber in order to deliver random sanity checks, which I am most certainly failing. Here's the thing though, that Necronomicon says it's a prize, which begs the question, where's the carnival where I can win a Necronomicon from winning the ring toss? Also, Ina's trying to achieve world domination too, so I guess we'll see how that plays out between her and Kiara. Personally, I'd prefer fast food to endless mental torture at the hands of ancient beings beyond my mortal comprehension, but that's just me. Alright, simple enough so far, not really much that contradicts one another. We've just got some questions. Like, has Callie known Kiara since the beginning, or is it the Callie of our universe who has just met this new Kiara, as the PV implies, and that's why she's so cold? What do the Ancient Ones want with us that VTubing was the most effective way to capture our minds? Actually, that last question is kinda dumb given what I'm doing and you're watching right now, because clearly their plan has worked. I mean, at this point, if Mori has my soul, Ina has my mind, and Kiara has my wallet, then the VTuber world domination plans are really on track to just take every part of us at this point. And there goes my heart. I love sharks, and my need to be a dad and to protect just flares up immediately upon seeing Gura. I don't care if she's 9,900 years older than me. The urge to protect doesn't care about age. Also, I still will just randomly drop in whenever I'm bored and alone. Oh, and the city pop. Can you tell there's not a lot of lore in this one? But, lore-wise, Gura is from the lost city of Atlantis. Apparently it's a pretty mid place to live, so Gura came up to the land to experience all the cool stuff we had. That's pretty much it. Anyways, drugs?
This is what I used to offer Mr. Holmes. He used to call it a Watson's concoction.
Amelia Watson, the genius detective who will help us tie all of this together, hopefully, maybe, I don't know, probably not. For her own lore, Amelia began investigating Hololive and wound up becoming an idol herself, and aside from illegal drug testing, that's it. See, for everything Amelia doesn't say about herself, she implies twice as much for the world we're exploring. During her goals section, she elaborates on her investigations into Hololive and actually alludes to the idea that Holo-En does in fact share a universe with JP. I wasn't ready for that fact, so I'm just gonna stick to my normal plan, and we'll get to JP in another video. But also we can confirm that in this world, all of the members actually are canonically idols and streamers. Additionally, there is some kind of magical power around being a VTuber that allows one to evaporate and capture souls even before death, as well as connect to and manipulate people's sanities. In like a magical way, not like parasocially. But also parasocially? These magical reasons could be part of why Hololive continues to attract various mythical beings and magical creatures. They're all actually who they say they are, not characters. Amelia is just the tinfoil-hatted conspiracy theorist that discovered the truth of the organization. But once she figured it all out, instead of being silenced, she was invited to join the organization instead. Now what could that mean? Well, let's say Amelia had informed others or the internet of what she'd been researching beforehand. What does that do to her theories if she suddenly disappeared or was shut up out of nowhere? It adds legitimacy. If she needed to be kept quiet, then that means there was something about which to keep her quiet. But let's say you add her to the group, allow her to continue the investigation at her own leisure and publicly as part of the organization. Now you've completely removed the legitimacy of her actions because everything she says or discovers is just wrapped into the ongoing story you've been concocting. Thus, the theory sits as such. Hololive exists in our world, all the members are exactly who and what they say they are, and have created a company to allow one another to manipulate the magic inherent in VTubing for their own benefit. What I'm saying is, trust no VTuber. They've accessed dark magics and are attempting to steal away something from you. Whether it be your soul, heart, mind, or akasupas, they're all after something and have found a powerful way to obtain it. I am broken. Now, before we start getting into the really confusing stuff, let's explore and address some smaller notes from outside the debuts. First off, some of you may be saying, if Hololive takes place in our world, what about Hololive Alternative? Well, as the name implies, that's an alternative take on those characters' stories. Their official site even says as much. At least I think that's what it's saying. Either way, that means that if you want me to go through the world of Alternative, let me know down below. You know what? 5,000 likes on this video and I'll do it. Also, subscribe and ring the bell. It's the easiest way to know when I drop one of these videos, and I'll be dropping fun stuff in between them too, so look forward to all of that. I have a lot of stuff coming. Next note, Kiara's re-debut. Funny in the meta context, absolutely baffling in a lore context. For those unaware, Kiara's channel was once banned on YouTube. Once her channel was reinstated, she decided to redo her debut as a phoenix is reborn from its ashes. Here's the confusing part. As her lore states in both debuts, whenever she's reborn, it's in a new dimension. So how is she in our dimension again? Also, she forgot her old life, but she says it'll come back, so that's not really an issue. How is she still in our dimension? Okay. Either there's a series of Kiaras looping around the dimensions, and we cycled out one for a Kiara from a nearly identical dimension, or, and I cannot believe I'm saying this unironically, Phoenix deaths are QPU aligned. Because if this is the same Kiara, that means she must have died so hard that she warped all the way back into the same universe. Unfortunately, neither of these explain whether or not hell is exempt from the multiverse. Another fun question is which songs are actually canon to the character's stories or career. For example, Kiara's songs are very in line with her image of having used to be an idol and a warrior. They don't really tell stories, but it's believable that the character of Kiara did actually release these songs, and holy shit, does Sparks slap! To understand Gura's song Reflection, I have to introduce you to someone very important. This is Carl Jung, famed psychoanalyst and father of analytical psychology. I bet a lot of you are very confused right now, but even if you haven't heard of Jung specifically, you've most likely heard of his work, as he's extraordinarily influential in almost all forms of psychological and literature analysis. Though the most important theory we need for right now is his theory on the psyche in terms of the shadow and the persona.
Persona!
Yes, like that persona. And if you've played Persona 4, then you'll likely already sort of know what I'm about to say, as it's a core element to the story. In short, the shadow is the true self, an expansion of Freud's concept of the id. The shadow is the selfish, depressed, angry, dark part of who you are. It's all the negative emotions and denials about yourself that we cast away and deny. It's the parts of ourselves that we see in others and resent because we can't accept it or we feel guilty about it. Since we obviously don't really want to share that with the world, we develop personas, kind of like different masks to put on depending on who we're with, that represent a part of our true selves, but are also rigid depictions of ourselves so that we can fit into society. However, when you can surface parts of the shadow and confront the deficiencies and problems you find in yourself, you'll be able to walk away more confident in who you are. That's what happens over and over in Persona 4. That's what happens in Reflection. Gura's reflection is her shadow. She's being confronted by the doubts, shame, and angry parts of who she is, and ends the song in a happier and more confident place now that she's accepted those thoughts and processed them. As for Violet, the song itself doesn't actually say much in terms of lore, unless you look at the video. Now this is mostly speculation based on relatively little evidence, but I believe this song is actually about Ina's first love and possibly heartbreak from before she found the Necronomicon that gave her her powers. If this is correct, then we even get to see what Ina looked like before the tentacles started to take over. Now when it comes to Callie's songs, they almost all tell some kind of story about her job, her past, or her emotions towards being an idol and interacting with us. So it's easy to believe that all of those songs are certainly canon to her character. Meanwhile, there are some songs that are clearly not canon, and a few that are debatable due to their content being contradictory to her established lore, or just not really clear enough to either confirm nor deny if they're really about her, if Callie the character wrote them, or are just songs. But because there's so many, I'm just gonna throw up a list of which ones I think are canon, and if you want me to go into it further, tell me down below. Though one of them will actually come up later, so get excited for that. I feel like there was something else I'm forgetting. Kiara, and she showed me some kind of room. There was like a massage chair or something. Strange, I can't remember. Oh well, I guess we'll end myth on this note. This is also canonically from another universe, which means there are multiple Kiaras in different universes, meaning the Kiara in the re-debut could have been a different one than the one we actually knew, but she just came from a very similar universe. Alright, let's finally move on by saying hello to Iris, Hololive EN's virtual singer. Part of Project Hope, Iris is a Nephilim, half angel, half demon, who descended to bring us all hope. Something I could really use right now. This, however, is her second awakening. She once brought hope to the paradise during the ancient age, but now that our time has been filled by despair and desperation, she has returned to deliver hope through her songs. Not so conveniently for us, Iris supposedly does not speak of anything before her second awakening, though whether it's due to her embodying hope and always pushing forward, or perhaps something darker, we'll never be sure. And that's pretty much all we get from her actual debut. Seeing as how Iris is a V-singer though, we'd be hard-pressed not to discuss how her songs apply. Caesura of Despair is simply a song version of her saying that we can always find hope and she's here to show it to us. Diorama seems to be her speaking to herself and reminding herself that the future is yet unwritten, so her mission, however seemingly dire or pointless, must carry on because there will always be a chance of her success. But being a Nephilim, Diorama's hopeful, angelic message is contrasted by Here Comes Hope. This song embraces the darkness more, pointing out the taint of evil in humanity, and alludes to this idea of hope at all costs. The demonic part of Iris will ensure a better world, even if it involves enforcing her own black and white image of good and bad. Sparks of Joy is about a day out on the town. Also gentrification? Journeying through Journey, Only in Hope simply says that she can only do so much to provide hope if we don't open our eyes and accept it and work to make it a reality. Also, I'm gonna be honest here, when writing this script, I came back to Iris' songs after doing all the council stuff, and I really don't have the energy to think of a way to explain the "my God" lines without context from the next section, so I'm just gonna leave it at, there's a lot of gods, and one of them sent Iris, and then you can keep that in mind for later on. Joy With You is Iris finding happiness and joy in humans and her wanting to join them in this pleasure. Meanwhile, Nameless Sadness is the exact opposite. The world is such a sad and miserable place that even the harbinger of hope is thinking of giving up. Bare Your Teeth is much the same sentiment as Nameless Sadness, but from the more demonic perspective. It's not sad that there's all this sadness and darkness, it's a poison that's corrupting her and the world to the point she'd rather choke herself than breathe in our madness. Sink Again, Rise Again. Man, this EP is really pessimistic, huh? Joy With You was so happy, then just 3 songs in a row about how miserable everything is and how much Iris wants to give up, die, or never see the sun rise again. At least Flower of Hope sort of brings us back to the hopeful and happy message of Iris by having her remember that no matter how heartbroken or dark the hearts of humans may be, there's a bud of hope in everyone, and it's that little seed that she's working to protect and grow. Actually, See the World probably gives us more closure and clarification on the conflicting messages in Journey. The angel and demon halves are in conflict with one another and constantly fill her with both fear and joy for the world and its future. She realizes that these dual hearts are what makes her uniquely suited for this task, and it's only by reconciling these two together that she can find the true path towards hope. Finally, Akatsuki Tohana just uses a few pieces of imagery we've seen in past songs, i.e. hope as budding flowers, but isn't really a clear story or message, and the same can be said for Till the End of Me. I hope you all were able to follow all of that, because shit's about to get very confusing. Welcome to your new religion. So you remember that part where Iris said she never talks about her past?
So that was a fucking lie.
Welcome to the prelude. In the beginning, the four gods created space, a collection of textures and principles. However, with textures and concepts floating boundless, they created chaos. Thus, nature was created to provide context to these textures, but nature was more or less living statues with no purpose, so the gods added time, which then allowed nature to grow and evolve. Once they'd evolved enough, some of the creatures desired more, which led to the gods granting them knowledge. With knowledge came the birth and growth of civilization. However, civilization's growth was a danger to the order of the universe since it wasn't directly crafted by the gods. Civilization corrupted nature, time bound civilization and nature through aging and death, and the ongoing conflict between space and time came to a head. In the end, the four gods found order in chaos. By creating avatars for the main concepts of the universe and chaos, they deemed that chaos shall govern the world via a council of their avatars. With this, the four gods entered their ongoing slumber. I'm kind of just really hoping to those gods that summarization made any sense, because I have no clue how to make it any simpler. Also, interesting fact, we can pinpoint the moment Callie was born thanks to these videos. Since Callie says she came into existence when life did, we have to ask the question of what counts as life. Is it the creation of nature, living things, or time, since the living things can now grow and die? Can something count as being alive if they can't grow or die? Well, thanks to Graveyard Shift, we know the answer. In the song, Callie says,
"It's always been like first since the earth stood still."
I don't know about you, but that sure sounds like the moment nature was created, but didn't grow or move due to there being no time. Thus, Callie was born at the same time as nature was created. But I digress. These 5 avatars are the council of VTubers we've come to know and love. And I think they're here to ease our pain until the end of the world? I swear we'll get to their debuts eventually. According to the PV, something or someone known as the Manipulator has become active and seems to be bringing about the end of the world. This fate is apparently unavoidable, as even the gods, no, I don't know why that's in quotes, can't stop it. Enter the council, and a bunch of statements I do not understand. But you can bet your ass we're gonna try. Space. Where does the difference lie between 0 and 1? First of all, that's supposed to be a question, Hololive. The only way to save the void is to validate the existence of space. What I'm pretty sure this is supposed to mean is that to prevent everything from being seen as nothing, we must prove that it is something. That doesn't make sense either. Okay, so in binary, 0 means no and 1 means yes. In other words, 0 is nothing and 1 is something. Now, if you think about space as a concept, space is the emptiness we're surrounded by. If we claim that emptiness is nothing, then it's no more than an endless void. But if we can validate its existence as the term space, then this nothing suddenly becomes something. So the question becomes, where does the difference lie between nothingness and somethingness? The only way to prevent us from viewing emptiness as nothingness is to validate its existence by claiming it to be something on its own. Did that make sense? No? Luckily, this next one is pretty simple. It's just a really weird way to say humans don't appreciate all the blessings nature has given them. Time is similarly simple once decoded. Ever since we realized that time marched forward and began to measure it, our mortality became even more obvious. Everything we do is measured against time and bound to the concept of time. Civilization is pretty self-explanatory. It's proof that humans have made progress, but we must also acknowledge the role of thought and the individual in civilization's growth. Constantly pushing towards a false sense of progress will only lead to our demise. And then there's chaos. This one seems simple, but philosophically there's a lot to talk about here. Basically, they're saying that order cannot exist with chaos existing in some form. However, removing all sense of order is even more dangerous. With no sense of obligation, desire, or need comes lethargy or a sense of being overwhelmed. You'll either end up feeling no need to do anything or feel the need to do so much that you end up doing nothing. Like summer vacation when you were a kid. There's so much of everything you could do, so you end up sitting in your room staring at the ceiling thinking about all the things you could be doing. Living creatures need some sense of reason to continue on, and when humans have created so many other things to do, then the sense of order needed to do those things has increased exponentially. Wait, I just remembered that this video started with a threat of the end of the world? Also, is it just me, or is it kind of fucked up to hear the Harbinger of Hope telling us that the world is going to end soon and there's literally nothing we can do to stop it? Whatever, we got VTubers to watch. Finally, we're back to actual debuts. Starting with Sana, she just kind of starts by explaining the origins of all things, but in the context of the Big Bang. And not the lore that we just went through, and I may be having an aneurysm. And then she's just gonna go ahead and force me to let it sink in. It's happening. It's sinking in.
20 minutes later.
I fixed my lighting. It's brighter now. You're just gonna have to deal with that. So, that was the most pessimistic lore I've seen yet. Basically, the universe made everything by accident. Now Sana is here to tell our dumbasses that we just need to chill a bit about it. Additionally, according to this little blurb, Sana is a member of the council and represents space. All things we knew. Once arriving in our realm, she decided to get into astrology for a reason not specified and... Wait, hold on. However, she soon stumbled unknowingly upon the forbidden truth and turned into an apostle for the Ancient Ones? Like Ina? I have no clue what to do with this information. Sure, it makes sense that the Ancient Ones are from space, that's normal Eldritch stuff, but wouldn't being an apostle for them while on the council be a conflict of interests? Isn't she supposed to represent the gods? Do the other members not know that she's working for the Ancient Ones? What is the forbidden truth? Does it have anything to do with the manipulator? What the fuck is anything that I'm saying? I guess we'll try to come back to that later. Then we get an explanation of what constitutes space. Kind of OP if you ask me, but I digress. And since we don't fully understand space yet, we can't fully understand Sana's actions or speech. And now I know why I've never understood Australians. Also, we've got Yatagarasu, a majestic three-legged crow who looks like this little orange worm boy to us so that our brains don't melt. More importantly, however, is that he's a Shinto god of the sun. What? How many gods are there? Because we've got the big four, who are all sleeping after leaving the council behind, the council themselves, which are only avatars of concepts, not gods, but still hold immense godlike power, the Ancient Ones, which it's unclear if they count as gods or not, whoever Iris's god is, and now Yatagarasu, who is a god, but not one of the big four, and considering he's a Shinto god, implies that at least the entire Shinto pantheon exists, but that they aren't as powerful or important as the big four. Now, I'm not quite sure what's the right call here, so I'm going to tell you and let you decide how you want to interpret this part of the lore. I know that sounds like a cop-out when interpreting the lore is supposed to be my whole job here, but hopefully you'll understand. See, Yatagarasu in Shintoism is not the god of the sun. That would be Amaterasu. Meanwhile, Yatagarasu is actually a god of guidance and an incarnation of the sun. So if Sana's little worm boy is the Yatagarasu of Shintoism, which is heavily implied given he's got the same name, connection to the sun, and is also a three-legged crow, then she's wrong about him being a god of the sun. But if we're to say everything that the VTubers say must be the correct canon, then this Yatagarasu is the god of the sun, and we are left with no clue as to what other gods are out there since we can't base it on Shintoism anymore. Plus, saying everything the VTubers say is canon could potentially open up a massive bag of worms full of potential contradictions and bizarre points across their many streams. I hope you see my dilemma here, and I'm just gonna let you all decide whether or not Sana just made a mistake about Yatagarasu's title, or if the canon of Hololive differs from Shintoism. And then Sana destroys the Earth, so I guess we're all just canonically dead at this point, and anything else in the lore that doesn't make sense from now on can be explained away with that. Once again, we're treated to a lore story that doubles as a science lesson, only this time explaining how the Earth came to be and evolved into the planet we now know. I'd explain it, but you've probably heard the whole thing in school like 15 times. Unless you live in the American South or Midwest, in which case you were probably just told that Earth was created in 7 days.
Space was no longer alone. Nature had claimed her place. in the universe.
And so, as nature was born, so too was its keeper. Taking the form of a Kirin, Sarah's fauna was born as Mother Nature's avatar. Bro, same. Also, we're all canonically murdered again. Now you may be wondering, but if we're all dead, how can we die again? And how are we still here watching you make up shit about VTubers? Well, apparently Fauna has the power to revive all of us using her golden apple. That's convenient. Fauna is obviously a member of the council and is the keeper of nature, which, as we all remember, is the second concept made by the big four gods. Shedding her original Kirin form, Fauna herself has chosen to enter our realm in an attempt to save nature. Apparently, nature also counts as all organic matter on Earth, except humans. This is an interesting little fact because it must mean that once we were gifted knowledge by the gods and began to create artificial tools, we officially left the domain of what is natural despite being organic creatures. Also, it says her voice has healing properties and... yeah.
I've always viewed myself as more of a big sister type, One-san type.
Yes! Cool. Good for you.
You can call me Mama if you want.
1 second. Don't mind me, carry on.
It just doesn't feel right. You should be with me. You belong with me. But don't worry. I'll take good care of you. Okay, I guess I should at least finish this video before going off the grid. So things are about to get mildly confusing. Crony's autocratic aspirations aside, she claims that they're all supposed to just be concepts. But that's not right. They were all concepts, but were given the form of these avatars well after the concepts were formed. Do all of these avatars cease existing when not in council meetings? That can't be true though, because we hear of Fauna having her Kirin form, and Sana's story implies that she hangs around in her human form too. If they're not supposed to be in the human realm, sure, that makes sense, but to say they're only concepts implies that they aren't what they are, avatars and personifications of the concepts. But maybe I'm also thinking about this way harder than anyone involved did. Scratch that, I definitely am. Anyways, Crony is the Warden of Time and claims to be the one most intrinsically linked with mankind. I'd say that's debatable considering mankind created civilization and is why we don't count as nature anymore, but there is actually a solid argument here as to why she believes so. Humans were responsible for quantifying and qualifying time as a concept. It used to be that time just happened. We began to assign and measure time to an infinite degree of qualifiers. Day, night, dawn, dusk, hours, minutes, seconds, so on and so forth. Through this act, humans ended up creating a prison for themselves as we now are forced to measure every action we take and our very being against time. I did already kind of explain this earlier, but I felt it was good to expand on it here because this jail metaphor is where Crony got her title as a warden. With all the power that humanity has given time, Crony has only grown more prideful and sadistic. In a sense, she's become a warrior and a reaper herself, using her blades to rip through countless souls as she marches ever forward. Also, this shit's horny as fuck. Now, Crony's debut ends with her saying she rewound time past when everyone else existed, so for all of our sakes, we're just gonna say that was a bit and not go down the we're all in Crony's deranged imagination hole again. Just kidding, that was actually canon too. So you know how everything is wrong when trying to figure out time travel? Too bad, we don't have a choice this time. Crony rewound time before all of us existed and thus erased everything that we've been through. After falling asleep for eons, however, Mume confirms that everything that we experienced before the rewind happened exactly as it did before. This seems simple enough, time must then be cyclical. Everything will always happen the way it did. Except it can't be cyclical because that would mean we never get to Crony's debut because she'd always rewind time to before the universe existed. Thus, according to the canon, we should never have experienced the debut of Crony. The only way to reconcile this is by saying that time is a Schrodinger's VHS tape. When you're watching the tape, everything you've seen in the movie is certain. You know what's happened. Rewinding the tape isn't going to change the story in any way. But everything further in is unknown. This movie could go anywhere, and you won't know what's going to happen until it does. If you stopped the tape and walked away, the movie will forever sit in a state of this infinite possibility. So as far as we've seen, history and time must be predetermined. If Crony rewinds it, it will play out the same way because we already know the results. However, the future is forever in a state of flux, and we can never be sure of how it will play out until we witness it. Anything and everything is possible in the future. Once we experience it, however, it's set in stone. Nothing can alter it. Basically, because Crony exists outside of time, because she is time, she is the only one exempt from this rule. And since she was asleep when she reached the same point of the VHS as before, we were able to continue on with an undetermined future and could reach Mumei's debut. That's basically what Mumei's intro video proves to us. Also, she kind of points out the flaws with the others, and I think that's funny because leave it to the avatar of unnatural human evolution to mock the natural concepts. By the way, that is canon. Mumei explicitly states that she is representative of our efforts. Even her choice to be an owl can be seen as representative of the fact humans tend to personify everything we can, and how to humans, owls represent wisdom. And despite chronicling our history, she forgets most of it. Just like us. Now, here's where we have to address a rather interesting point. Mumei's book says not created by the gods. If we take this to mean civilization as a whole or concept, that is correct. The canon states that civilization was not created nor controlled by the gods. It was a wholly human creation. However, if we're speaking about Mumei as an avatar, we have to start questioning some things. According to Omen, the conflict between the concepts is what led to the gods creating the avatars. The implication of this is that one of the avatars was Mumei. Though if she says that she wasn't created by the gods, we have to wonder if that humanity and civilization as a whole is so powerful that it led to the creation of an avatar being birthed to represent them without the interference of the gods, or if she just forgot. And that's a very real possibility. And if you were wondering, the writing on friend just says friend. Finally, we've reached Bale's Hakos.
My name is pronounced Bells Hakos.
Bill's Heckus?
Bells Hakos. Okay.
Bells actually allows us to take a quick moment to talk about something I glossed over before. Every member of the council has actually had a different title that gives context to their perceived roles as avatars for their domains. Sana is the speaker of space, the voice of the void, the something to space's nothing. Vana is the keeper of nature. She tends to and ensures its ongoing growth. We already mentioned how Crony is the warden of time, and how she leans more towards the hard-ass prison-style warden than simply an overseer. Then came Mumei, the guardian of civilization. As the avatar for the only concept not created by the gods, it only makes sense that she feels a need to defend, protect, and justify the very existence that gave her being. Bells is chaos.
The other council members have these really fancy titles. I don't have that.
That's it. No title. Just chaos. Every other member has been an avatar of their concept, in charge of managing and representing them. Bells is the actual embodiment of chaos. Chaos given form. And that's pretty much it from Bells. And honestly, I'm kind of relieved by that. But you know what comes next. Songs. Let's go in reverse order, because, I don't know, I feel like it. Blade Dice is pretty much just what I think goes on in Bay's head all the time. A New Start is the auditory embodiment of mankind's desire to explore, progress, and expand. Unbound by space, time, nature, or even chaos, we continue on to endless beginnings. Daydream, on the other hand, actually may have a lot to say about the lore. As we discussed very briefly before, the reason the council came to us was to ease our pain and fear as we march towards the inevitable end of this world at the hands of the manipulator. Several lines in this song allude to this role, as Crony sings of how she weeps for our impending destruction, as well as hoping to see us smiling on our final day. Now there's one line that, quite honestly, kinda grossed me out, and I felt it came completely out of nowhere, and it's this one. See, in English, that means the throbbing moon or the moon is throbbing. And either way you look at that, it doesn't have any good implications. There's nothing that upsets me more than the idea of this celestial body made of stone throbbing. But then it hit me. The moon is the manipulator. Whatever it is or is residing therein will be our downfall. So if at any point you see the moon undulating, just turn on your favorite council member and allow them to ease your woes. Except for, just maybe, Sana. No, this isn't me just being an auntie, because I'd also say to avoid Ina. What's the only thing that we know is so powerful as to corrupt even a divine avatar of one of the core concepts of creation? The Ancient Ones. Sana learned of the forbidden truth after hearing their voices and became an apostle for them. Where is the moon? Space. An ancient, sleeping, unknowable, and unstoppable force waking from inside of the moon sounds pretty damn eldritch to me. This very well could be the forbidden truth, and it was Sana who convinced the rest of the council to join her in making us feel better before our inevitable doom. She was the first to debut after all, and had no qualms in destroying the Earth herself because she knew it was going to happen eventually. Sana is working on behalf of the Ancient Ones to lull us into a state of complacency so we do nothing to try and stop the manipulator from devouring us all. But if we were destined to be destroyed so soon, why would another god send Iris to us? Give us hope for the future where we're all going to be annihilated by some throbbing moon beast? No, there is hope. We do have a chance. Our VHS hasn't played out yet. We are humanity. We were the ones who surpassed space, time, and nature to become so powerful as to develop a concept on the same level as the rest, and it is up to us to embrace the chaos of what could be and to write our future, to stop the manipulator. In conclusion, as is the case with any creation myth, Council's lore gets very messy when you start to consider actual scientific history. And for some reason, the Council is very adamant about implying that said scientific history is also canon to their creation. We can assume that some part, if not all of the Prelude and Omen videos is what actually happened because the Council's very existence proves that it happened. The issue becomes that the debuts all continue this in their bios, but have backstory videos that claim that the Big Bang created space, the dust in space slowly formed the planets, etc. The problem there is that after the Big Bang, time had to exist before nature since it took time for Earth to come together and nature to thrive. Without time, space would have stayed an infinite field of dust. Thus, the concepts could not have been formed in the order that Prelude claims they were. Either that, or we're entering some insane quantum physics shit, and I've pretended to know what I'm saying enough for one video. Oh, and don't forget Omega Alpha, because they may just be God, like the God. Also, their Twitter bio says they know things about Hololive English, and I can finally, officially say, same, bro.
Hollow Stars English! Hollow Stars English! Hollow Stars English! Hello and welcome to 4 NPCs trapped in an RPG you never finished. I'm the guy who spoiled the rest of the video, and I've been waiting for this day since June of 2020. Finally, they're here. My sons. I welcome you with open arms. And I also greatly appreciate your lore being a straightforward, normal story. I forgot the light again. You should already know you're just gonna have to deal with the lighting change. I'm not filming that again. Speaking of things you should be used to by now, you should know the rules to this, and if you don't, you should probably go check out my other lore videos. And why not subscribe while you're at it? It's right there, it's free, just click it. We are limiting ourselves to just the debuts as well as any official lore drops because I am simply one man and I do not have time to go through all these VTuber streams and pluck out every little crumb of lore that's dropped. So if there's anything interesting that I've missed, please let me know down below. But then again, the debuts actually have very little in terms of lore. God bless you, Hollow Stars? Or should I say Omega Alpha bless you? Because while the debuts may not have carried a lot of story, that doesn't mean that there's no story at all.
Instead, we're treated to a tale told through a manga drip fed to us on Twitter, one that starts with Omega Alpha. We open on Omega Alpha standing on a seemingly ever-expansive plain of flowers, staring down at the Earth. It asks us,
Thou seekest a new tale.
before summoning a gigantic version of its robotic hand to use as a chair and pulling a mysterious gun out from another portal, one we'll come to know as Altair's. Holding the gun aloft, it warns us that
Further pursuit of a world that is would only be in vain.
So let's take a minute and talk about this little prelude, because these 2 pages actually say a lot for only containing 2 sentences. For starters, I pretty much glossed over Omega Alpha at the end of the last video because back then there wasn't really much to say or speculate on outside of God of EN. But here we have an actual reason to talk about it, as it's taking an active role in this story. And yes, it seems the proper pronoun for Omega Alpha is it, as that's what's used in the description given during its official announcement. And I guess that makes sense, because like, what is gender to an extra-dimensional god? I don't think you care at that point, like you're just a concept. So, based? Also in this description is the title, The Exiled of Worlds. This would likely describe why we see it in this bizarre field out in space. Omega Alpha is residing in this separate reality that allows it to look upon all the other realities. Similarly, this power would help explain something else very important to the rest of this video. Tempus takes place in a different reality from the rest of Hololive EN. In his debut, Axel casually refers to the world as Elysium. He says,
whichever part of Elysium you live in,
as if he's not aware that the rest of us don't live in his world. Now we'll come back to that later, but it is a good piece of evidence to back up the rest of this theory. Plus, let's be real, it should be pretty obvious that the Magitech RPG world is not ours, which is where Myth and Council heavily imply they take place. Thus, we can confirm that Omega Alpha's role in all of this is exactly as its description says, a watcher who decided suddenly to start taking action. Now we certainly could speculate as to whom or how Omega Alpha is talking to us, and whether or not it knows that we perceive it as a piece of fiction, so we will. If Omega Alpha can see everything in all worlds, then it makes sense that it can see our world in which it exists as simply part of a story, a piece of entertainment. And that is why it asks us if we want to hear another tale. It knows that we can perceive and interact with these other dimensions, but only through the guise of a story. Omega Alpha is allowing us to see the tale of Tempus and allowing them to interact with us through their streams. But to Tempus, they don't see us as viewers from another dimension. They don't know that we exist on Earth while they exist in Elysium. Which brings us to that redacted word. Further pursuit of a world that is what? Well, if we take it to mean like ours, we could assume that the word is something like extra-dimensional or possibly mid-dimensional. Omega Alpha seems to be implying that our world is unique in its ability to collect, view, and interact with these other dimensions, and our obsessive search to find one that can do the same is a fruitless task. But if that's the case, which is it? Are we a hub dimension? Or perhaps was Omega Alpha able to look down at our Earth because we exist with it outside of dimensions? A world it created for its own entertainment, to not be alone in its ability to watch all the other dimensions. Are we the gaze of Omega? Is where I'll stop asking these questions, because if I don't, we would be here for several hours, never even touch Tempus' story. So here's the plan. We're just going to talk about the whole story as it's presented to us, and then we'll talk about the implications of it. Sound good? Okay. We begin with Altair, guild leader of Tempus, or perhaps the entire Adventurers Guild? Those two positions are very different. He gazes out at the moon as he prepares for bed. He notices a picture of him alone, and turns back to speak to no one. The dissonance in his head causes him to collapse in pain as the world starts to glitch around him. He remembers that someone used to be there. Someone named... Next comes Magni Desmond, meeting Altair in the woods by approaching him from behind and scaring the poor boy half to death. While Desmond is acting a bit suspiciously friendly, Altair is clearly not that excited to see this stranger again. Nonetheless, Desmond decides to offer his ominous support for Altair's quest. Jumping forward a bit more, it seems Des and Altair are now regularly traveling together and are invited to visit the ringmaster of the Colosseum, Axel Sirios. A man so badass that he throws a skeleton throne. Slap that SteveSekai seal of approval on that. Best part of the lore, hands down. We end on him challenging Altair and Desmond to a fight to prove his strength and to join their team. Flash forward again and we see Altair clashing with none other than Noir Vesper. Altair is claiming that he's changed and grown from whatever kind of man Vesper thought he was before Axel crashes into the fight and breaks up the duel and says they should all go grab some food. Vesper goes full edgy tsundere and says he recognizes Altair's skill and offers his aid. The four set off into the night and have a feast while deciding what their next adventure will be. Alright, now comes the part where you start questioning my sanity and whether or not I've been inside this hole for too long. Since we've got all these stories in one place and a clear through line, let's try something different for a change. Let's not go in chronological order and instead start with the simplest aspects and then move our way into the really confusing stuff. As I already said, we don't have to do the typical work of tying all our characters together because we can plainly see that they all exist in the same world and are part of the same guild party. Additionally, as I also already said earlier, we already know the name of this world, Elysium. From what we can see of Elysium in the promo art and from the characters, it appears to be a gorgeous fantasy world that has mixed magic with technology to enhance, at least for our heroes, their weapons and armor. The style of this world also seems to be a more contemporary look mixed with medieval design philosophies. It's admittedly an aesthetic I've always loved, and to get to see it and talk about it here is certainly a treat. Like, fully out of character, this is just so up my alley and I am so grateful for it. Like, not only am I getting Holostars English, they look like this. Oh my god, I can't, I'm freaking out, dude. I'm so excited. Oh. This is the thirst bit for this episode. I'm sorry I'm not asking for DMs that we're going out into the woods. I am just so genuinely excited to see this world, and I think it looks so cool, and I just want to see more of it. Please cover, give us more. It's all I'm asking for. I will never make a video about it again if you don't want me to, but just give it to me. I just genuinely want to see more of this world. For example, let's take Altair's armor and sword gun. And I must make a very important distinction here. This is a sword gun, not a gun blade. I don't care if its name is the gun saber, it is a gun with a sword attached, not a sword with gun capabilities. Sword guns, cool. Gun blades, lame. Both his armor and the sword attachment to his gun are made of hardened light, like a magical plasma shield. Meanwhile, Axel's ears seem to be mostly for show, but have a fun little holographic effect as well. Magni, on the other hand, get it? Uses a very different type of Magitech gear, alchemical robotics. In his reference sheet, we can see that the back two arms of his coat are basically Doc Ock-esque extra limbs, while the front four act as mechanical gloves with the spikes you see here acting as connectors with these circles on his bracers. We actually do see him using them like this in the manga, and explains why the wristband looks so bizarre when he does. I now get to be that guy and ruin a lot of Magni art for you, because anytime you see him using all 6 of his arms, you now know that it's wrong. Because only the back 2 are robotic, and those other 4 are gloves, so he can only use 2 of those at a time. Even his opening animation, technically wrong. Sorry, you're never gonna be able to unsee that. And you're welcome. As you'd probably expect from Vesper though, he doesn't have any tech for us to discuss. From this point, however, we can jump into our first little mystery. While the manga is clearly a prequel that shows us how the party came together well before we came to know them, there is one interesting thing to note about Altair's gear as the story progresses. Altair doesn't start with the gun saber or armor of light. Instead, for the first 3 parts of the story, he has a normal sword, one he doesn't have from his encounter with Vesper on. It's not entirely clear whether he has the armor of light either, but considering the fact he doesn't activate it in 2 potentially life-threatening moments implies he's yet to receive that too. A significant part of why I find this so fascinating is because of a detail we've already discussed. Omega Alpha pulling Altair's gun saber out of a portal as if it is the main signifier and icon of this tale. As if when you think of the legend of Regis Altair, your mind should be going to this weapon. Like the Master Sword for The Legend of Zelda, Keyblade for Kingdom Hearts, the Buster Sword for FF7. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but I can't help but wonder why the acquisition of something seemingly so important to his character is completely skipped over in recounting Tempus's origin story. All we can really do is speculate on this and where in the timeline he must have acquired it. We can tell Desmond's, Axel's, and Vesper's introductions all fall in chronological order, as Altair is alone when Desmond offers to join him, Desmond is part of the party when Axel says he wants in, and the two of them are there to watch Altair prove himself to Vesper. Additionally, we know that Altair received the gun saber and armor of light before Vesper joined them. However, based on Vesper's words, it's heavily implied that the two met several times before. Could it be that Altair's retrieval of these heroic artifacts helped him grow enough to finally prove his strength to Vesper? You may have noticed that I left Altair's chapter out of that list there, and I'll be honest, there's not actually a huge reason for that. More that while it's implied that it comes first, there's actually just nothing to prove that it comes before or after any of the others. Speaking of that chapter, I suppose it's finally time we address the elephant in the room. Who was in that photo? Who is? Here comes the fun part where I get to fully admit, I don't know. But you can bet your butt we're gonna make up some stuff to pad out this video's runtime. Now, most of you may only know me as the insane person who staples together VTuber lore, but I'm also a writer. In fact, I've been writing online since well before I made videos. Hell, if you don't think most of those past lore videos were just massive stretches of me making shit up and then just covering it with impressive prose, well, I guess that just goes to show I did my job right. Thus, based on what I would do, here's a few ways I think this story might go. First off is the idea that this is potentially a future fifth member of Holostars, a potentially vital character to Tempus's past that has been ripped away, possibly by Omega Alpha, as we see the same glitch effect when Altair is attacked by his memories as we do when Omega Alpha tells us that our search is in vain. Could we see someone brought into this group as a missing member or possibly an antagonist who was once friends with Altair before something drastic happened? The second idea is a bit more complicated. Okay, a lot more complicated. You may remember from earlier that I said that Tempus doesn't seem to realize we don't reside in Elysium. This came from Axel's line in his debut where he says,
whichever part of Elysium you live in.
This innocuous statement is where I drew a lot of the basis for the idea that we exist in an extra-dimensional space, as despite us watching and viewing from Earth, Axel and presumably the rest of Tempus perceive us as viewers from their world. So how does that work? Well, what if there was some kind of surrogate? What if the character that had been removed either was or was replaced by this magical stand-in? One that allows us to watch and interact with their world as if it were a stream, but for them, seems like they're just talking to a friend. Take what I'm doing, for example. I'm sitting here staring at a camera, and yet, via technology, you all are hearing everything that I'm saying, and it seems like it's in real time. It's like you're in the room with me, but you're obviously not. Now, imagine the camera I'm talking to was some kind of robot or cyborg. Same principles. Cameras for eyes and technology means that you all are seeing the same thing, but to me, I think I'm talking to a person. Then you and everyone else watching has access to this robot's brain and mouth. When you all comment or say is filtered into logical statements, and then the robot talks back to me so I can get your feedback. Finally, take away the fact that I know I'm talking to a robot. Take away that I know I'm looking at a camera. Imagine you all are doing this while I just think I'm explaining all this insanity to a friend. But through AI, what I say is twisted to make it sound like I know that there's thousands of you and that I'm talking to a whole group as opposed to one person. I don't know if that made any sense, but I really have no clue how else to explain it. So we're just gonna have to roll with that because I really want to get to this last theory since it is by far my favorite one. Tempus are the cast of an RPG you never finished. Hell, if it wasn't obvious that they were video game characters, they have guild cards with RPG stats and pixel art sprites of themselves. This fantastical world of quests, heroes, and such unique characters who would all make perfect sense in a party that you would build in some kind of JRPG is left abandoned by the one person meant to guide the story forward. That's why there's a glitch when Altair remembers who is missing. That's why there's no one in the photo. That's why they don't have a name. They're you, me, any number of gamers who started the plot and left these four behind to sit in an endless limbo. There's no name because there's countless names. There's no photo because they could look like any one of us. The glitch is Omega Alpha forcing the world into progressing without us. Altair, Axel, Desmond, and Vesper will all just have to meet on their own, without us to push the story forward and be the catalyst for their introductions. They'll all have to find their own way with their new free will.
And their streams are like letters from their world to us, letting us know that they're doing all right. They're happy with where they are, and we don't need to worry about them anymore. They are an incredible guild now. They are Tempus. I bet you thought it was gonna end there, didn't you? Well, nope. We saved the most confusing part for last. The semantics of the word guild in the context of this story. I don't get it. This isn't a bit. I'm just gonna rant unscripted about this now. Okay, so a guild, right? A guild is big, a big thing, a big group of people. That's what a guild is. So an adventurer's guild is like every adventurer, at least in a city or country. You go to the Adventurers Guild, they give out the quest. It's the big organization. Merriam-Webster, that's right, we're busting it out, defines guild as an association of people with similar interests or pursuits. Doesn't help a lot. How big is an association? That's a problem. Major organization in a country or city or even the whole world. It's supposed to be like all the adventurers. And the comic says Altair is the leader of the Adventurers Guild. What? That's like, he's like the CEO of like a multinational organization, and that he's supposed to grow into being a leader? I would say that's already a pretty big fucking leader, no? Okay, so he says that, so it says that, but he says, and like the other ones say, he's the leader of the Tempus Guild.
My role here in the Guild of Tempus is I am the founder, I am the leader. Wow.
Okay, is Tempus the Adventurers Guild? I don't think so. If it's just the four of them, that's not a guild, that's a party. And they say party. Axel says you guys wanted members for your party. And if he's the leader of the entire Adventurers Guild, I'm sure nobody is stronger than Axel, but wouldn't you think the leader of the whole Adventurers Guild would have his pick of the litter for his party? Okay. Is it like an MMO guild? Even then, it's supposed, that's like, what, 50 plus people? I don't play MMOs. I don't know. Somebody in the comments correct me. That's a lot of people. Can you really start a guild with 4 people? And if you do, again, they say Tempus Guild. Why does this say Adventurers Guild? Are they the only adventurers in the whole world? I don't get it. I'm genuinely, like, this has been bothering me for like a week. I genuinely do not understand the scope of Altair's powers here. Who is he in charge of? Like, they all have titles, like they're part of an organization. Like, they're in charge of the whole ass Adventurers Guild. Desmond's like on PR. Axel says he used to be the treasurer. He's not anymore. I think he's HR now. Great pick. This is like they own a company. And so, okay, that makes sense for an entire Adventurers Guild. But again, the scope of their story is not that big. He should not be in charge of the entire Adventurers Guild. I feel like the CEO of a company doesn't need to grow into leadership. I think he's got it. I don't get it. I think that's enough screaming about words for one video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you liked the video, please go down, like, comment, subscribe, the YouTube things. I hope you all enjoyed. I know this one was probably a bit shorter, but as I said, it's a pretty straightforward story, and with there only being 4 of them, there's not really too much that we need to tie together or speculate about. I will say I absolutely love Tempus. They are everything that I hoped and dreamed for Holostars English, and I am very excited to see more. If anyone from Tempus is watching, thank you for being so incredible and entertaining. I probably got some stuff wrong. If I did, I'm sorry. Feel free to blow me up in the comments with your corrections. And if I didn't, just ignore what I said about some made-up place called Earth. It's all just Elysium. There is no trans-dimensional viewership here. I promise. It's all Elysium. I'm in Elysium right now. I swear. And as always, I don't know how to end videos. Bye. Holostars English. The boys are back in town! Holostars has just debuted a second party in the Tempus Guild, and that means it's time for me to stare at more techno-fantasy art and characters.
First off, if you haven't seen my first Tempus video, I highly recommend going to watch that, as it explains the story thus far and lays the groundwork of world building that we're gonna be using here. Secondly, the only information we're basing this on is initial debuts and official lore videos or resources. Quite simply, I don't have time to go through every possible stream and wait for the slightest random bits of lore to be casually dropped, so we try to keep it to the most official sources we can. Finally, once again, I'm not going to be going in debut order, but instead focus on the points as they become relevant. Now then, let's start with a few corrections / clarifications on things I missed, got wrong, or got partially right in my first video. First off, Elysium is a digital world. I was right on that fact, though according to the website, Elysium is a bit more than an RPG like I posited. Instead, it seems to be closer to The Matrix, SAO, or The Oasis. The website calls it a solution / digital world that was created as a way to find peace and perfection, even saying it signifies mankind's decision to abandon the material world. Additionally, the corruption in the manga actually seems to be something called records corruption. What's causing this is unknown, but we are aware that it ended the idyllic peace of Elysium and brought suffering upon the lands. As for Tempus and its status as a guild, a huge sticking point in that last video, it appears that they are closer to an MMO-style guild. The website states more clearly that the Tempus Guild started in a pub with that name, and it became their assembling point. It implies that there are several other members, which we can now see, and that the first four were simply the founders. However, Altair's bio also states that he was the first adventurer to step foot in Elysium, so Tempus may very well be the only adventurers guild there is. So, ultimately, my big theory from last time wasn't quite right. These aren't the cast of an RPG, but they are playing one. This information implies that every member is another human who has abandoned our world for a shot in a utopic virtual one. Also, this premise means that the redacted character in the manga could have just been another person that was killed or transformed by the records corruption, a point we'll discuss more of later. Finally, on to the new lore. Let's start by expanding on those corrections about the world of Elysium. The preview leads off with Altair solidifying that Elysium is both the name of the city and the name of the world as a whole. Meanwhile, the website also clarifies that the city of Elysium lies within the country of Utopia. Fittingly for an RPG story, we're then introduced to the next level and a new part of this world, the far-off land of Xeno-Kuni. Literally meaning alien land, with Xeno meaning alien, and Kuni being Japanese for country. Thus, as you'd expect, you can see Xeno-Kuni is clearly inspired by Japan. Known as both the land of craftsmen and of righteousness, Xeno-Kuni was also promised to be a utopian land of peace, but instead found itself in a cycle of destruction and creation thanks to the continuing onslaught of the records corruption. Two members of Tempus, the jester and secretary Gavis Bettel and the pilot Machina X Flayon, embarked to Xeno-Kuni. While there, the two found themselves two allies, the exorcist Banzuin Haka and the Ronin Josuiji Shinri. Oh, and a giant mech that Flayon just claimed for his own? During their trip, according to both the Tempus members and the website, our traveling duo found themselves in the midst of a battle with a bunch of corruption beasts attacking the city. That's when Haka and Shinri stepped in, Shinri joining them willingly and Haka not so willingly. Now, the name Corruption Beasts is easily the thing that sticks out the most there.
There we go.
Okay, maybe the second most thing. It's fairly simple to assume that they're beasts made by the records corruption. The important question is, what are they made from? Well, looking at Haka's bio may give us a harrowing answer. If you look at his right arm, you can see it transforming due to the records corruption. This implies that corruption beasts are corrupted entities in Elysium, people and animals whose code has gone bad. Why do I say animals too? Because of this little guy. Phantom is a small creature with the same color scheme as Haka's corrupted arm, and slowly corrupts Bettel's thoughts whenever he's near. Certainly sounds like a corruption beast to me. Additionally, we can guess that this is the possible outcome of Altair's friend who has disappeared. They've been corrupted. Speaking of, let's talk about our boys a bit more. Let's start by pointing out that this specific party of four is known as Tempus Vanguard. Looking to Bettel, he is a purveyor of various performing arts, and his previous travels in Xeno-Kuni earned him the honor of leading the Tempus expedition to the country. He currently works in Axel's combat arena as an entertainer, and like we already said, he also adopted Little Phantom here, and it's slowly eating away at his brain. Bettel doesn't say much lore-wise, but his vast travels do imply that there are certainly more lands out there than just Elysium and Xeno-Kuni. Also, I'm pretty sure he killed a guy. I just need to take a moment to talk about Flayon's debut. Holy shit, that was insane. The amount of quality in that animation and how quickly it paints his personality, just fantastic. And maybe it's just because I'm a huge sucker for cool mech UI designs, but hot damn, I just love that whole setup. That said, I would not last 10 minutes in there with its anti-horny systems. Cause yeah, fine, maybe I think Magni's right, and I also want to eat sushi off of his tummy, but that's irrelevant to how much I enjoyed his debut. Anyways, Flayon is an adorable little gremlin and master pilot. While exploring Xenokuni, he got his hands on the Artress, a giant mech that uses his energy to operate, hence why he's always so tired. Me too. These two giant shield-like plates are the control panels of the Artress, and the machine will also murder you if it detects you being too horny, which is a problem because his tail/key is very sensitive. Oh, you actually wanted me to make a joke there? I figured you all would just be able to assume at this point. Well, fine. If I got my hands on that tail, I would. Haka's debut had a lot I didn't understand because I took French in high school and promptly forgot all of it. Could I ask one of my Spanish-speaking friends to translate? Sure. But I'm pretty sure it wouldn't help us much, as the most important part is Yagu can transfer through dimensions and isn't afraid of beating his talents when they're out of line.
And I'll do what I want, because I am the great exorcist of
Haka himself is an exorcist, which confirms the existence of yokai, and interestingly has inherited Karasutengu data, which implies that certain individuals throughout Elysium were gifted with the data, not DNA, of various mythical creatures to give them superpowers. He joined Betel and Flayon in fighting off corruption beasts, and then joined Tempus after Betel shot him with a poison dart, put him in a bag, slammed him against a wall, and flew him back to Elysium. As we already said, he's in the process of being corrupted, and he only has 2 spears as he sold the 3rd spear to Vesper. Finally, the famed archer and ronin, Josuiji Shinri, is... damn. I'm not gonna lie, that art of him with his hair down, it did something to me. Regardless, he was residing in isolation until he saw the other 3 valiantly fighting off the aforementioned beasts and joined Tempus in a much more willing fashion. Much like Altair, he actually has armor and weapons made of a similar hardened light, and his hand is blue for some reason that he has yet to reveal. Alright, formalities are out of the way, and it's time to get crazy with it. What better place to start getting crazy than me telling you I lied? Remember when I said I was wrong about the RPG thing? Yeah, that was partially a lie. While the world is still more akin to a matrix, there's a key phrase that implies that at least 2 members of Tempus may be NPCs, not players. In the description for Xenokuni, it stated that the frequent assaults by the records corruption and the constant destruction and rebuilding caused the residents of Xenokuni to gain sentience and question the validity of Utopia's name. As I said, this bit of info makes us question, at the very least, Haka and Shinri's roles, as it claims that no one in Xenokuni was an existing sentient being. And I'd argue this all makes sense. Haka likely couldn't be corrupted or imbued with Tengu data if he wasn't already data. Same goes for whatever is going on with Shinri's arm. If we expand on that logic with our previous assumption of Phantom, Betel also has to be an NPC if his mind is being so warped by Phantom's corruption. The original 4 and Flayon are a bit more up in the air, but I'll say it's personally hard to imagine a group of such important figureheads becoming heroes like this without it being intentional. In fact, I'm also willing to stand by my theory from before of who the redacted character is. While it may not be one of us, it very well could have been a player or someone who plugged themselves into Elysium and backed out, leaving a hole in the NPC Altair's memory. Maybe. See, there's one more thing we've got to talk about. The piece most prominent in each piece of concept art, the Hollow Tree. In Always Tide, the members of Vanguard talk about the Hollow Tree, capitalized as a proper noun, and how it ties everyone to this world, and how it will take you home. However, there's a more suspicious line in there too. If you forget who you are and you don't see your face, to that hollow tree, you're always and forever tied. At first, these may seem like separate lines, but when read together, spell out something much more devious. In what situation would someone in a virtual world have forgotten who they truly are and don't see their own face in the mirror? Probably a situation like the Matrix. Everyone in Elysium is a human, but in essence, they're all an NPC of sorts, as they're initially unaware of the state of their surroundings. But after gaining sentience, aka slowly remembering they're not from there, they begin to question the supposed utopia they're actually in. Vanguard asserts that their goal is to reach that place past Paradise's door so that they can grow forevermore. Seeing as how the hollow tree seems to represent this door and the power holding everyone in Elysium, we can assume that it's more akin to a system that is storing and sending data into and out of Elysium and out into the minds of the people plugged in. They're not trying to reach Paradise's door to enter Paradise, they're already in it. They're in Elysium, Utopia. These four are trying to find a way out, back into a world where they can actually live and grow instead of being trapped as perpetual digital avatars. And quite frankly, this is kind of driving me up the wall. This is clearly the most thought out world and story that we've dealt with, and that just means it's the hardest to parse since we can only go off of what they give us. It's not like the others where I can just make stuff up and make it seem right, because we know there's a right answer somewhere. Damn it, Hollow Stars, you did it again! I need more Tempus ASAP! Also, Hollow Tree, Hollow Stars, it's a hollow tree. You get it? Anyways, as always, thank you so much for watching. Hollow Stars, Tempest, Vanguard, you all are fantastic. I'm loving this story, I'm loving where this is going. Very excited to see more. Very excited to see more of you all. You're fantastic and wonderful. Like, comment, subscribe, notification bell, you know the YouTube things. If you like this, please share it with your friends, your family, your dog, your cat, whatever. Get someone to put it on a TV at a bar or something. Honestly, if you can convince someone to put this on a TV at a bar, please send me the picture on Twitter at SteveSekai. I also stream on twitch.tv/SteveSekai. There's a patreon.com/SteveSekai. Channel memberships are open, and I'll see you in the next one. In my Tempest Vanguard video, I stated, and his hand is blue for some reason that he has yet to reveal. But that's no longer the case. In one of his Zatsudan streams, Shinri revealed that his arm is blue to mark the fact that he failed Zenokuni's test to determine those strong enough to help fight off the corruption beasts. It was due to this failure that he became a wandering Ronin, a journey of self-discovery to find his true strengths and how he could help those around him. And he did actually watch my video, and apparently I might have broken him. So, sorry?
Minna ga shiawase na あの場所に
Boo! Did I scare ya? I know I scared myself. My pants are soaked in piss right now. Speaking of terrifying things, VTubers! Not only do they flood my YouTube subscription feed, they haunt my nightmares and have crept into every single part of my mind. Please God, send help. For those of you who don't know, which statistically is most of you, I'm a huge fan of horror. I love horror movies, games, stories, what have you. I love being spooked. Trouble is, how do I combine my love of horror with my newfound fears? If only I had some kind of virtual experience of my worst possible nightmare, being trapped in a rural Japanese high school with a bunch of VTubers. That was a joke. Hololive Error is one of Hololive's attempts to branch out of simply managing their expanding collection of streaming anime girls. Unlike Alternative's lore-based stories and MMO, Error is an even more alternate world where all our favorite Hololive girls, or at least a good number of them, play high school girls in rural Japan. Spoilers, their school is haunted. That's right, as was heavily implied, Error is a horror experience. Typically something you don't really expect from the idol-esque image of VTubers. And yeah, we'll get there. There's two main Error products, the game and a YouTube series. If you actually want to see and hear all your Hololive Oshis playing their roles in this horror story, then you should probably go watch the series on YouTube, since the only ones you'll actually see in the game are Sora, Korone, and Okayu. It's a 24 episode motion manga, with each episode only lasting a few minutes. Depending on the order you experience these two aspects of error, this manga serves as either a prelude to the game or as further revelations as to what you experienced in the game. In fact, once you've finished at least one ending of Hololive Air, the main menu actually gives you a link to go straight to the playlist. The story of Hololive Air takes place in one town over 5 different time periods, has 2 landslides, 1 ghost train, a lot of Hololive girls, approximately 4 Tokino Soras, and 0 explanation for the digital artifacting effect. And that's just the surface. I was gonna try not to spoil the story too much, but honestly, things get so confusing at times that you'll probably thank me for explaining it later. I mean, if you only play the game, you got no shot at understanding any of this. So unless you want to watch the 24 episode VTuber motion comic, trust me, you're gonna need this. Oh, and for the sake of ease, I'm gonna use their actual VTuber names instead of the alternate Hololive Air names that they all have. Just gonna make this a whole lot less confusing. We start with our first group of Aogami High students introducing themselves to a nameless, faceless transfer student. It's here that we learn a few things that will become vital pieces of information. First, any mentioning or acknowledgement of who we'll call non-essential characters is met with a disturbed and cold hostility. Second, Aogami has a rumor that if you're not kind to transfer students, something terrible will happen. After Nene accidentally hits the transfer student too hard, everyone freezes in fear. Regardless of the transfer student's dismissal, this action seems to cause a sudden landslide which hits the school and presumably kills everyone inside. We're then taken back in time and meet Sora, who has been too shy to try and make any friends. Having prayed at the town shrine, she finds the courage to introduce herself to the new and immensely popular transfer student. This leads to her getting a new group of friends until they all sneak into the school for a test of courage before another landslide, or I guess the first landslide, destroys the old school building and kills seemingly all but Sora. Sora makes her way to the shrine once again and prays for all of her friends to be saved. Now we're on to the train section, and I'll be real, this one makes absolutely the least amount of sense considering it's also a major component of the game. Basically, another faceless transfer student has come to Aogami and meets our third batch of students. Only this time, the transfer student is having bizarre visions of Sora and the memories of both Sora and the first transfer student. The group discusses how there's been a string of disappearances around Aogami Station. When Okayu posits that the other students who are out with the summer cold may actually be amongst the missing persons, we see a vision of the time Fubuki and Lami asserted it was just a cold when the first transfer student asked a similar question. The next day, Okayu is gone. Everyone seems to be in a loop of repeating all the things they'd said before, and no one but Korone and the transfer student seem to remember Okayu even existed. The transfer student and Pekora, yeah, Pekora's here now, just deal with it, board a mysterious late-night ghost train and find a panicked and furious Korone blaming the transfer student for stealing Okayu away. Some spooky ghost shit happens involving the other girls before they find Okayu, who is staring at the transfer student and making claims like,
あなたが望んだんでしょ？理想の友達、理想の世界。
She even mentions the names of students from a mysterious yearbook that depicted another set of girls alongside Sora's picture. It's then that Sora reveals herself, something that greatly confuses Korone and Pekora as they ask the transfer student,
なんで二人いるの？
Okay, now comes the part where we can stop discussing all the details and I can just explain to you what is happening, because that's pretty much just what the last section is. Also, I am skipping a short bit in the middle there, but that's because we're gonna get to it during the game portion of the video. Basically, after Sora and her friends died in the first landslide, Sora's prayer allowed her to create an endless loop where she gets to be the popular transfer student, since she saw the one from her class instantly gained a lot of friends, and controls the students of Aogami High to recreate her ideal friend group and to go along with her perfect plot. Anyone who goes against this script is forced to disappear by the original Sora, though these periods can't last forever. Whether it's because of Sora or some kind of divine intervention, each one of these loops ends in disaster. It has to for another one to come to pass. Well, if Sora doesn't die, then she can't come back and keep living in high school. Then again, I don't know, 30-year-olds in high school is like a horror movie staple, so why even do the time loop? Just keep flunking. That works too, right? That's so fucking stupid. What if the plot was she just kept failing high school instead of a supernatural time loop? Anyway, but even having regained her memories of this fact, Sora refuses to change it, as living in her perfect pockets of happiness is better than facing her reality. Basically, if you watched WandaVision or SSSS Gridman, it's the same kind of story, only with time loops and a ghost train. Also, there's some weird plot at the end about how Miko had been warning Suisei that her family needed to stop the deforestation because it'd make the spirits mad, but it also had the consequence of loosening the soil, which is what caused the landslide that killed the girls and destroyed the old school building. So Miko, being the only real survivor of the landslide, becomes an environmental scientist and invents a new breed of tree that will spread rapidly in the forest around Aogami to shore up the soil so that people can safely return to the town. But then she dies and gets to join the spirits of all her friends in Sora's perfect afterlife. That plot point just kind of happens at the end. So I didn't really know where else to put it. Now we can finally talk about the game! The reason you probably clicked this video in the first place. Oh well. I guess we should probably get my review of the game out of the way first. I thought it was okay. Maybe it's because I'm a jaded horror fan who has a hard time being scared these days, but I just didn't find it scary at all. I mean, look at this. How you doing? By the way, yes, I did stream a good chunk of it on twitch.tv/SteveSekai. You should come check me out. I will admit, one part did actually get me to jump, but that's mainly because I got distracted reading a tweet that my friend had sent me before I looked back up at the game. That's insane. What? Oh! Of all things to scare me, it had to be Korone. And I will give credit to this one scene. That's creepy. Cause fuck me, that painting is pretty goddamn creepy. Otherwise, most of my playthrough kind of just looked like this. It's so loud. I'm locked in. Oh. Hey there. God, that sounds awful. Clarify that it is the scary minute. This is not the art room. This is just... What's up? Hey, girl. Same, though. Some peaky-ass audio. I'm not gonna front. Oh my god, it is so fucking loud. I don't have time for this ghost shit. I gotta go home and watch VTubers. Anime girl face, I can't. Oh, thank God that sound stopped. Christ almighty. I'm not saying it's bad, I'm just saying I didn't personally find it scary. But I know other people did, so clearly it's effective. Even if some of those people are VTubers, who are the easiest group of people on the planet to scare. It's just not as effective on someone who loves horror like I do. I'm sorry. I don't find VTubers scary. As for the story, you play as a journalist for a paranormal magazine as he investigates Aogami, a town known for paranormal occurrences and landslides, and also where his grandfather disappeared on his own investigation. Most of the notes or recordings you hear are generally just references to plot points we covered in the first section, but I did think it was neat finding out that the survivor that the main character's grandfather interviewed was probably Miko. The other story the game focuses on is that of the school's rumor of a ghost haunting the art prep room. According to the tale, a girl slowly lost her mind while trying to create a painting that no one else could. To achieve this, the girl began using her blood to paint, and with the last stroke, she died. This is the main scary ghost you see throughout the game. Maybe. The game certainly frames her as this ghost, seeing as how she only shows up in the school, leaves behind the bloody painting supplies, and you literally see her making the painting, but that's where things get confusing between the game and the videos. The game shows us this original character model as the painting ghost, but the videos show us Marine as the painter, and one of the in-game photos also shows her painting, but with the wrong generation of students for when the girl died. As for the plot points you need to have watched the series for, pretty much everything else that happens makes absolutely no sense if you haven't. Especially Ending 3. Ending 3 has Sora say that she never meant for any of this to happen and is trying to resolve the error she committed. Get it? Hololive error. It's the name of the game. Oh, man. Before she tells you that you're being wrapped into her nightmare hellscape wasn't supposed to happen, but asks you to go hear the real story by asking, you know who. Except I didn't know who. When I played this on stream, we got endings 1 and 3, then I got 2 after having watched it. So on the stream, when Sora says, you should know who to ask, I had no clue who she meant. You should already know who to ask. I don't know. As only 5 characters appear, 2 of them are ghosts, 2 are trapped on a ghost train, and one of them is the spirit trapping you there to begin with, and only one of them is named. But if you watch the series, you would know that you're meant to ask Sora herself, as she's likely back at the school in another one of her loops. As for how the hell the game's main character would figure that out based on the events of the game, I have no fucking clue. Look, is Hololive Air kind of a mess? Yeah. But does it show a lot of potential? Hell yeah. The writers clearly went for something experimental and interesting, but when you're limited by 3-minute shorts and a company's first attempt at a video game, things can get a little lost in translation. Hell, I'm pretty good at deciphering VTuber bullshit, and there's still some stuff in here that I'm not entirely sure about. Like, did the transfer student actually survive the landslide too? It's heavily implied that only Miko survived, but our character has the same bracelet as the transfer student sitting on his desk at the same time as he discusses how his great-grandmother was a student at the time of the landslide that killed Sora and her friends, and seemingly refused to discuss the event. Though the biggest theory that I'm pretty sure of is this. The real monster is the shrine. A plot point I'd left out until now is that of the woods surrounding Aogami. According to legend, there used to be landslides so frequently that the villagers of Aogami would bury children alive to appease the mountain gods. Miko states that this is why Suisei and her family's logging business need to stay out of the woods. Suisei and Marine both suffer from serious headaches that shift their personalities, seemingly due to the fact that they would regularly go into the woods. Finally, we can see exactly where Aogami Shrine is located. The woods. Every character who visits the shrine is apparently shifted into this limbo. Sora prays there first, asking for friends, before returning after the landslide to beg the gods to save her and the friends that they'd given her. This starts the loop as they're all trapped in the town, reborn in new forms, to live out Sora's fantasies. Miko is next, praying for the gods to help her trees grow so she can finally ease her guilt. Shortly after, she collapses. Her spirit sits at the shrine and Sora sees her again before leaving to go back to her false life. Because if she acknowledges Miko, she acknowledges her past and brings an end to the endless happy cycle of forgetting the tragedy that befell them. Though she changes her mind and realizes that Miko was simply trying to do the same thing Sora was, relieve her pain. So she invites Miko to join them, which seemingly brings all the girls back into one happy time. The only other ghost with no explanation is that of the man. But knowing it can't be you, you can easily surmise that it must be your missing grandfather. In Ending 1, it's this ghost that stops you from visiting the shrine. In Endings 2 and 3, you find your grandfather's notes about how he was going to visit and continue investigating the shrine. Finally, Sora says that the way out of her world is by going through the shrine door back out into the real world. The shrine is what's holding all these souls captive. And that's Hololive Error. If I were to be cynical, I'd say it's just another jump scare simulator with some pretty good atmosphere. But that would be denying the pretty interesting story that the YouTube series weaves into it. Is it about as esoteric and weird as you'd expect from VTuber lore? Of course. Do I wish that the story had all been told in the game instead of in a YouTube series? Obviously. But I don't want to downplay that this is a pretty neat first attempt by Cover to make something very different from their typical image. There's some fun atmospheric moments in the game, and the series conveys some pretty good creep factor for being a motion comic. Now, obviously I've got recommendations, but I'm not going to bore you all with technical stuff about building scares and all that, so I'm just going to ask Cover for 2 small things. Please increase the walking speed, and please, for the love of all that is holy, fix that sound mixing. Some peaky ass audio, I'm not gonna front. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please like, comment, subscribe to YouTube things. If you want to see me talk more about horror or video games, please let me know. I love both of them very much, and I would love to talk about them more here. As I said earlier, I streamed most of my experience with the game on twitch.tv/SteveSekai. You can find me on Twitter @SteveSekai. And channel memberships are now open. So if you want to join that, you'll get access to videos early, you'll get exclusive posts, etc. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you have a spooky day. Ooh. Alright, fuck. Look. I get it. You're lonely. The afterlife probably, I mean, if it looks like this, probably sucks. But hear me out. I'll hand you my phone. Have you heard of VTubers? I think you'd like them. Alright, so let's just... oh, come on! Hello, everybody. I'm finally back from AX, and as you can hear, my voice is totally gone. So I brought somebody else to talk for me.
Hi! I'm SteveSekai.
Let's try later. Who are you?
What do you want me to say now?
Just say it again.
I am SteveSekai.
One more try.
What am I I am SteveSekai.
And because I am a hopeless shill, I'm going to be combining the 2 most popular forms of content on this channel, which is VTubers and my dad. Do you know what a VTuber is, Dad?
A VTuber is one of those... Are they?
Yeah.
They're anime, yep. Not real,
okay.
But they have a persona that is just the same as a female Justin Bieber, or maybe... or
that's one way
a
to put
male Demi Lovato. It's something that's sort of, that catches on as a persona that is, well, not real.
An avatar.
An avatar, yes. That's the word.
So this was being streamed live on Twitch, twitch.tv/SteveSekai. If you're watching the video, you should go ahead and go down and do what?
Give him money.
Oh, okay. You can do that too. Patreon.com/SteveSekai. Or starts with an S. You do it on YouTube.
Sex?
No, you can't do that on YouTube. Subscribe. Hey, he did it. You should go ahead and subscribe, like, comment, do all that stuff. I should also mention that it's not just being streamed. This is DrinkSekai. Because this is DrinkSekai, there's only one way to start.
Screw this up, I'm gonna hurt you. That's enough.
Hey.
It is kind of delicious.
It's really good.
I feel like a warm fire.
It feels so good.
66 proof.
66. That's 33% for those of you who don't know.
Just 3 away from 69. But
hey, Luna!
Luna is not interested in being on camera.
So today we're gonna be watching VTuber flips.
Okay.
I have 10 set up. Okay. See that list?
Yeah, I do.
So I just want you to pick a number between 1 and 10.
Whole number.
Yes, preferably.
Okay, 3.
これはもう曲流しちゃってくださいよ。
何曲って。
もうこの配信ご覧になってるアメリカ在住の皆さんもね、アメリカの大統領の名前ですよ。
Do you know his name?
I know who some people would like it to be. But it's Joseph R. Biden.
Let's see what she says.
じゃあ、おさめ大統領の次の大統領。はい。こちら。
ワトソンベーカリー。ワトソンベーカリー。
At least it wasn't Shitsuabe.
No!
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to everybody. This is why I shouldn't do this, you know. But you asked for it. You asked me to come down here.
Pick another number.
You got it over 4, so let's do 4.
This clip is brought to you by my friend Man Mode. The only thing you really need to know is that there's a game in which you are supposed to do the motion of milking a cow.
Oh, baby.
You need to wear headphones for this one.
Oh, baby. Turn it up. This is going to be good.
What'd you think?
The girl on the left has bat wings, horns.
Yes.
And the girl on the right has a bat barrette. And there must be something important about that? Really? Seriously, that's what I was focusing on.
The girl on the left is a succubus. That's what her character is.
Succubus?
Yeah.
So what is she?
It's time for research. I'm just gonna subject him to all of it now because I have to look things up. Oh, she's a vampire.
I knew something was going on.
Something is clearly going on.
I can't take my eyes off the cow there.
You really picked this as your number 2, huh?
What happens if you do left or right? That's the question. If she goes to the right, there's nothing. Never mind. Because that's where the action happens, with the left and the right. Right?
What?
Or left? Let's go for the last one.
Oh, the one fitting for this stream.
好きな休日の過ごし方は酒を浴びるように飲んで死んだように眠る。
どんぐらいの頻度で飲むんですか？
収録？
あ
1日どんくらい飲むの？飲まない日が720ミリの日本酒の瓶、一番少なくて。
つまりビール換算だと2リットルぐらいになります。
禁酒はできる。できるの？できる。
できる。今までどんぐらい禁酒できました？
最長2週間とか。
おお、すごい。
それって O なんですか？2週間って O なんだ。
いや、このレベルのアルチューがですね。
アルチューっていうのやめてあげて。いや、私本当になんか半年はできるんだと思ってた。
半年飲まなかったらどうやって生きるの？
いや、生きれるだろ。
いや、全然生きてる。
いや、生きれるだろ。
生きれる。
うん。
あれ？人間わからない。
Why does the guy have a name tag on?
That's your only question.
No, that's the first question.
His character is that he's like an office worker. And that's...
He's just over there with these people because that's totally fucking normal. What's the difference between sake and just rice wine?
That is sake.
When we were in Matsumoto, your mother needed some wine.
Okay.
And I went to a grocery.
Bought her rice wine.
Bought her wine. It was not sake. It was wine. There is no word to describe how it tasted. Sake is great. There's no question. What could that have been?
I have no clue.
Because if she drank a bunch of rice wine like that, she definitely is an alien.
Are you enjoying your VTuber experience so far?
I am just so much sitting here and thinking we only have about 6 more to go. This is great. We have to do 9.
Okay, this is the double. Welcome to one of the most insane VTubers. This is Hachima Cooking.
今日のハーチャマクッキングは野菜パンケーキ作り。
Wow.
メープルシロップをかければこのゴミみたいなハーチャマチャマハーチャマこと赤いハートです。今日のハーチャマクッキングはメントスコーラ焼き。
Couldn't get any worse.
Oh, it's gonna get bad. Yeah, it's gonna get bad.
Guess what we're adding next? Beef.
メントスコーラ焼肉イコールパフェ。証明完了。
Did you Mentos Cola beef?
So talk to me about the musical references. First video was Eine kleine Nachtmusik, right? The first one.
Okay.
Second one started with Prokofiev,
Okay.
Romeo and Juliet.
Yep.
Then it went back to Eine kleine Nachtmusik.
Uh-huh.
And then it went to the Verdi Requiem.
Okay.
And the last part was, I believe, it was either Verdi's Aida, or it could be...
Very interesting. Keep going.
The Toreadors. The two. So that means I really wasn't paying attention to the video at all. Because Really, who wants to eat that? Although I might have eaten the first one.
How? It was a piece of charcoal.
So I've eaten charcoal.
There's one more. She actually did it live on stream. It's a tarantula?
Oh, nice.
Oh, there's...
What the hell is that thing?
It's another tarantula. No.
It's a delicacy because there are no tarantulas in Japan.
But she lives in Australia.
Well, of course.
I'm actually going to vomit if we don't.
Okay, just get off. Just move on. Move on. One.
I'm going to have a question for you at the end. Who was your favorite? Not to lead you in any way.
But you are right now.
This is my Oshi.
So, there's a Japan, right? But if you go under the water, and if you can look at the behind the Japan, what's in there like that? So, this is the ocean, right? There's a land of Japan, like this. So Japan is right here. So what if you go underwater, and is it possible to look at behind the Japan? So I saw there's a giant loot in here and supporting Japan to stay here so the Japan doesn't go away like that. Same as America. So this is the ocean. This is the land of America. And there's a loot down here. What's in here? What's happening under the Japan or any kind of land? It's all rock. Iwa? What? You're telling me it's all rock? That's a giant rock! Wait, what? Are you telling me until the bottom there's just a rock like this? Really? Oh, it's so tall! Nah! No way! No way! What? Oh, mind-blowing. Thank you. Mom, did you know about this? Probably not.
It'll be okay. You see, what you don't understand, son, this child is a genius.
It's probably like my age.
What's that make you that? I don't know. All I'm saying here is that obviously there is so much truth to Stranger Things and the Upside Down. What's under Japan? The Upside Down. What's under America? The Upside Down. What's under Russia? The Upside Down. So what's under is rock. No one cares about rock. Well, I do because I'm a musician. But that's not the point. The point is that he understands that there's something there below that holds us into a place of trying to be aware of our demons and our better selves. This is an important lesson that we've all learned. And I do understand why this would be your favorite. But I don't think you've explored it deeply enough to know exactly what's going on here. I don't think this is funny. You see me laughing. No one's laughing here. Well, he is. I have
taken like 6 shots in 40 minutes.
Okay, let's do 2.
Oh, this is the one.
Oh, good God.
I want to try this so bad.
本当にこの回成立させていただいてありがとうございました。ローション最高！ローション。死ぬよって。
You did that, didn't you?
I wish I had. I want to do this so bad. If I ever am in a situation with the money to do this, I'm absolutely going to.
You know, if it was a flat thing, though, if it was not curved.
Well, that's how you get the momentum.
No, dude.
It's
like real pulling.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just pushed them with the broom, or just pushed them on, and then they had the brooms to make the
loop.
Right? Come on.
10,000 sub special. I'm gonna do loop curling. We got 2 from chat. What do you know about Morbius?
Not much. I mean, really, I should know more.
But how'd I tell you?
Why are you yelling?
Because I need the mic to pick me up.
What?
So what if I told you that Jared Leto for Morbius talked to a VTuber?
Oh! Who's the author here? Really?
Definitely Jared Leto.
Wow. Well, I don't know what your diet consists of. Maybe mice or, you know, small birds. But...
That's the one that got him. Not this far, that's the one that gets him.
Arigatou gozaimasu.
Yo, he got the Nihongo Josu. That's a joke you will not understand.
I will not understand, but I do know this.
Yeah?
She's proud of her hair and her tail, but you are too.
You can't just tell everybody that have a tail. It's a rare birth defect. You can't just let people know that.
Sorry. What the hell is wrong with you, son? Drunk already? I thought I taught you better. Come on.
So this is Korone, and this here's Pekora, and they're gonna try and imitate each other's laughs.
What the hell, Pekko? What the hell, Steven? You have just transported me to 1972 and junior high school locker room. We all had to sit there waiting for our swim trunks and laughing. I am disturbed, a bit devastated, and so thankful the 70s are over.
Got one more clip from chat.
Okay, stop. Yeah. Okay. I'm die. Thank you, whoever.
What?
What do you want, 5?
5's good.
Oh, you get a break. This one's a song.
Oh.
I'm making mistakes, Kobe. What'd you think of Kyo's Sparks?
Dora the Explorer lived in Japan and reached puberty. That's kind of what I would expect. Because, and it also gives a whole new meaning to swiper, no swiping.
What? Oh my god. The fuck does that mean?
That you just kind of get this, the whole message of the song was positive. And it was, and Dora, if she reached puberty and was over there in Japan, and I'm just saying, whoo, swiper, no swiping.
Keep chat entertained while I pee.
We'll sit here, the blank wall behind me. Although, do you like my shirt? I think the shirt's really pretty nice. Let me just come up here and use sort of a salmonish peachy thing with your white kind of going on. So I really like this shirt, and I don't wear it very often.
Alright, I'm back. What'd you say?
I showed them my shirt.
Oh, very nice. Alright, we got 6, 7, and 8 left.
6, 8, 7.
6, 8, 7. This one's a very important piece of lore. Welcome to the egg story.
I ordered something, and you know, it was in a normal box, like just your typical packaging. My dad knocked on my door, and he's like, I think you got a package. And I was like, wait, you opened it? It had the image of it on the front of the box.
Do you know what it is?
Probably a thumb drive with all of your video stuff. That
Yes! She's a huge SteveSekai fan. That's exactly
that's
what it
it
was.
probably was. And that frightened everybody.
Think of it as like an egg. An egg with a wire? Actually, no, there was no wire.
So this is what you do with your time.
This is what I get paid to do with my time.
All right, okay. What was it?
Well, you see, it was. This is another song that I think you will just find interesting.
Okay.
Song-wise.
Love the song. Harmonically, there were things in there that were surprising, but I know how they happened. Watching the video and trying to figure out what's going on. God, I'm sounding really serious now. It sort of felt like this girl who was trying to recapture her voice because she ended up in a place where she didn't want to be.
That is exactly what it is. So, those familiar with my lore videos will know that her story is that in her life, she was kind of like a big piece of shit. And so when she died, the gods turned her into this songbird forced to bring happiness to people through her voice. Last clip. So the point of this game is that you roll some dice and you try to get ochinchin, which means penis in Japanese. That's all you really need to know. Yeah, on dice. So like each one has like Japanese characters on it. You try to roll the word penis.
Like 2 once.
本当ですか信じられないありがたき幸せお前の望み一つだけ叶えてやろうならば大きな一物をください大きな一物をくださいついでに大きな一物をください大きな一物をくださいクジラのように大きくキリンのようにそそり立った大きな一物をください真珠も入れてくださいよし行こう
You did save the best for last, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. So when she was singing that in the studio, or
no, this was live on a stream.
It was
yeah. She did that live and then rolled Chin Chin afterwards.
Do you have her number?
I wish I did.
No kidding. If she did that live, there is just a teensy bit of genius there. I don't think we can follow that up with anything else.
Not. All right, final question for you, Dad.
Yeah.
Who was your favorite? Who's your Oshi now?
Of my 3 children?
No. The answer's clearly me. Who was your favorite VTuber that you saw?
There were so many. If this happened,
that was live. That was live.
Musically, it was totally simple, but that's because she had to do it. Just do it.
Yeah.
Props to that one because it was totally live. The rest of it is produced. Do I have a favorite?
Yeah.
Why would you make me choose?
Because we need to title this video My Dad Picks His Favorite VTuber.
God, I wish you were one.
One day.
I'm going to say that you're going to title this one as Dad Sekai Cannot Make Up His Mind.
No, you got to make up your mind.
No,
you got to come up with something.
I can't come up with this one or I'll get fired. I know.
Okay.
The chick that had the whole Stranger Things going.
That
was it. It was the whole Stranger Things going on about the upside down and the fucking. That's the one.
Like son, like father. Pikami is the Oshi.
There you go. Because there was some genius in there. And
She
understanding.
thought that Japan was rooted to the bottom of the ocean.
Well,
with one big root.
Have you not seen Stranger Things?